Hi y'all, welcome to Ingram Orchids and More. My name is Tristan and this is a little more formal introduction of who I am, what it is I do. So a little bit of background about me. I was born in North Georgia, Dawson County, Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. Nobody's gonna get that. I was raised in Dawson County my whole life. I grew up there until I was about 18, got married, moved down to South Central Florida, paradise on earth, at least it is most of the time. And when I got down here and we were first married, I got my wife a blue grocery store Phalaenopsis. I thought I was gonna be the bomb diggity, wife's gonna love it. So she did, she liked it. But I found out later that blue Phalaenopsis was not blue. It was indeed a white Phalaenopsis. And so me being the obsessive person that I am about certain things, I had to learn everything I could learn about this orchid that I had got. And that took me down the rabbit hole. And I found out that, growing phils was not all there is about growing orchids. Orchids are the largest family of flowering plants. There are 28,000 accepted species of orchid. I believe that's correct. You can double check me. But orchids are a huge family of plants and there's a lot of them. And so what I found next was our native orchids. So Florida here, we are blessed to have a huge diversity of not only just, terrestrial orchids, but a lot of epiphytic orchids. Usually epiphytic orchids occur in tropical parts of the world, and we are almost subtropical here. And if you go to South Florida, we have quite the extensive population of epiphytic orchids. And so that's where my first love was Florida natives. And then after that, I went down the rabbit hole even further. I was introduced to the Bag Baby program, and the Bag Baby program is the bagged orchids that you see at Lowe's, Home Depot, and a lot of these big box stores. They are sold under the name Better Grow, which is a sunbulb company, and they offer something that most orchid growers are not going to get the chance to do. They give more, a little bit more unique orchids that are not your grocery store fail. And starting off with the Bag Babies, I got a few Cattleyas, got a few Dendrobiums, some Oncidiums, all that sort of good stuff. And that led me down the rabbit hole even more. And then I was introduced to a local nursery, Palmer Orchids, which I am currently a full-time employee at. And at first, I started going there and indulging in a lot more of these beautiful orchids. And one day, I don't know what they saw in me, but they let me start working there. And, I'm real grateful for that. Not everybody gets to work at one of the best orchid nurseries in the country, but I do. I get to go to work every day and be surrounded by beautiful plants, that will take your breath away. And sometimes you take it a little bit for granted, but we really do at work. We have some amazing plants. And if you're ever in the area and you want to stop by, come by and check us out. Shameless shout out for the company, but yeah, it's a beautiful place to visit and a beautiful place to buy plants. But so a little bit about me. I think everybody has a favorite type of orchid that they grow. We grow a little bit of everything as a hobby here at home. But my true love and passion are a lot of the Florida natives. And the first thing I found besides Phalaenopsis was Florida's cigar orchids, Certipodium punctatum. If you had to ask me what my favorite orchid was or my favorite plant, I would tell you Certipodium punctatum. And I'll tell you why. So these are Certipodium punctatums. These are my little guys. I couldn't bring my big guys inside because my big ones some of them are, up above my waist. These plants get huge. And the reason they call them cigar orchids is you see, well, a lot of times they're covered in these papery sheaths, which I I pull off. But if you don't pull them off, you'll be left with something like this. Plant. It is a deciduous orchid. So, here in the fall and winter, they drop all these beautiful palm-like leaves, and you are left with this pseudobulb covered in papery, just leaf bracts that we call like sheathing. And they have these really, really sharp thorns on them. They will draw blood. But they call it a cowhorn orchid or a cigar orchid. But that is Certipodium punctatum. This is my love. This is my passion. I even learned to flask and grow some of these. So I've grown some of my own baby cigar orchids from seed. But here I just have a different selection of different punctatums I've found from different growers or different friends. And then I got one more to show you. So I do have quite a lot of Certipodiums, but what I could grab and bring inside before the video started was just a few. Is a new addition, well, relatively new addition, within the last 6 months. So Charles, if you're watching, thank you very much. This is one of 2 plants that he got for me at one of the shows. It was Redlands or something, yeah. And this is a hybrid, is a primary hybrid, Cardiocylum by Poecilum. I don't know what Poecilum looks like, but I know what Cardiocylum looks like. That's a beautiful yellow. So this is a new one for me. I don't have this. And you can see I'm growing it in a 1-gallon pot, which normally you would not want to grow orchids like that. But Certipodiums, even the epiphytic ones, are really a very confused terrestrial. So most Certipodiums are terrestrial plants. A lot of them grow in the sand or duff layer. But even our native one, which I've been down to the swamp, I've seen quite a few of our native punctatum. And you'll notice something. A lot of the largest Certipodiums are always growing in areas on like tree stumps that are just real rotten and decaying and just full of just organic matter and very wet areas. The ones that you find growing up epiphytically in the trees, higher up, they tend to be smaller plants. They tend to make the trash baskets, which are the aerial roots to catch, detritus and leaves and falling material that will break down and provide nitrogen. But the biggest plants that I've seen are always low to the ground, high light areas, and just somewhere that they're going to get a lot of water and nutrients. And so that's how I like to grow all my Certipodiums, even the epiphytic ones. I grow them in a more terrestrial style mix, not a real mud mix, but this is in tree fern. Most of my Certipodiums I like to grow in a mixture of peat, perlite, maybe a little bark, cocoa chunks. It's just really whatever you got on hand. What else do I grow them in? You can grow them in lava rock, but I like to add, like I said, some maybe peat or bark in there with the lava rock or sand, whatever you got. But the key with Certipodiums is high light. They like a lot of sun in the summer and a lot of water and fertilizer during that time. And when winter comes, you let them dry out and you forget about them for a few months. It coincides with Florida's climate really well. Florida here, we have a nice rainy season. During the summer, we get almost torrential downpours every day. And then half the year, we're almost completely dry. We get an occasional rainstorm every now and then during the dry season, but for the most part, it's dry. And so that's exactly what these plants like. And if you're blessed to live in Florida like I am, these are a great plant to grow. So thanks, Charles, for the new acquisition. It's doing real well. So that's just a little bit about me. Like I said, I love Certipodiums. That's my pride, my joy. But I grow orchids of all kinds. And like I said, I'm blessed to work professionally for an orchid nursery, and that's what I do with for my day job. So if you got any questions about orchids or what we're doing growing our own orchids, leave a comment down below. Maybe we'll reply and get you some answers, or maybe we can just leave a comment about what you want to see us do. We have a larger collection outside in our screen in Lanai. We don't grow in a greenhouse yet, but right now we're just growing around the pool. So if you have any ideas for what you want to see us talk about or videos that you want to see us do, let us know. But thanks, guys.